इनोवेशन एंड एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप, इस विषय पर आज विचार मंथन होगा। और इस विचार मंथन में स्वाभाविक है कि आपके मन में भी विचारों का संप्रेषण होगा और उससे आप कुछ प्रश्न पूछना चाहेंगे। और बहुत ही विनीत आग्रह करती हूँ, आप सभी यहाँ बहुत अनुभवी और सीनियर विद्वान हैं, आप जो भी प्रश्न पूछना चाहेंगे डिस्कशन के समय, आप अपने प्रश्न को अत्यंत संक्षिप्त रखेंगे। हम आपके पास माइक पहुंचाएंगे और जितनी समय मुझको इजाज़त देगा हम उतने ही प्रश्नों को एंटरटेन करेंगे। इसके लिए आप हमें क्षमा करेंगे। और इसके साथ ही मैं सत्र सौंपती हूं हमारे आदरणीय अध्यक्ष महोदय प्रोफेसर जी रंगराजन जी, डायरेक्टर IISc बैंगलोर से, कि आप सत्र का प्रारंभ करें। धन्यवाद।
Let me welcome all of you to this panel discussion on research, innovation and entrepreneurship. We have a very distinguished panel which will be debating this topic. In fact, we have an interesting mix of panelists. We have a director of IIT, then we have representation from a state university, in fact, which has a college which has been converted, elevated to a state university. Then we have a central university from the northeast, and we also have a private university. So it's, which is again a deemed university. So you have a very interesting mix. I'm sure they will have their own experiences, their own challenges, which are different from one another. So it will be very instructive for the audience to hear from their experience and learn about what can be done to increase research, innovation, and entrepreneurship. In fact, when you look at these topics, they cover almost all aspects of what a university should excel in, other than teaching. Almost all other aspects are covered here. So this would be an important topic for discussion. Now I would like to request Professor Abhay Karandikar, Director IIT Kanpur, to start the discussion. I want to go there.
Thank you, Professor Rangarajan, Honorable Minister, and my distinguished colleagues. Since I come from IIT Kanpur, I will emphasize on technology innovations. Science and technology innovations are the key elements for the economic growth of any country. And the recent pandemic has really re-emphasized the role of technology innovations. Honorable Prime Minister has given the call for Atmanirbhar Bharat mission, and the critical elements of the success of Atmanirbhar Bharat are design and IPR creations. Higher education institutions can play a significant role in driving innovations, creating intellectual property, incubating startups, and contributing to global standards with standards essential patents. Our education institutions have a lot of potential. However, most of our research, and including that in IITs I know, is primarily focused on R&D towards publications, which is important, but we need an increased emphasis on transnational research, driving innovations. For our country to design, develop, manufacture, and commercialize globally competitive products, we need close linkages between the translational research done in academia and the industry. The Government of India has this vision of setting up technology business incubators and university research parks on the campus of academic institutions, where R&D personnel and entrepreneurs can work very closely with faculty members. That has created an emphasis on translational research. However, we need to create a sustainable and thriving innovation ecosystem, and I think a lot more can be done. Globally, nations are increasingly becoming aware of intellectual property rights and using IPR reserves even to position their trade policy. And therefore, self-reliance in technology is needed for not only the economic growth, but also for the strategic and national security reasons. This has been recently witnessed in the wireless communications industry, where IIT consortium of IITs, including IIT Kanpur, IIT Bombay, and IIT Madras, IIT Hyderabad, and IIT Delhi, and Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, worked on the 5G innovation ecosystem. During the first, second generation and third generation wireless communication systems, most of the IPRs were held by the Western nations. But a greater ownership of IPRs in the fourth and fifth generation has shifted to Asia-Pacific countries. And I'm proud to say that in the fifth generation wireless communication systems, we had a small role to play in terms of contributing to global standards and intellectual property rights. However, this contribution, even though is a step in the direction, it has still negligible contributions compared to the global contributions with respect to IPRs, because we are the, we are trying to be a 5 trillion economy with one of the largest, populations in the world, with a lot of demographic dividend, which Honorable Prime Minister was also yesterday speaking. And in this context, I feel that the higher education institutions need to emphasize on translational research blended with their R&D towards publications. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now I request Professor Muthamizh Chelvan, Vice-Chancellor, SRM Institute of Science and Technology, Chennai.
Thank you, Professor Rangarajan. Honorable Minister, all my other colleagues, very good morning to all of you. SRM Institute of Science and Technology is a multidisciplinary university which offers a variety of programs starting from engineering and technology, science and humanities, law, agriculture, dentistry, medicine, and so on. I will just share some of the initiatives that we have taken to promote research, innovation, and entrepreneurship at SRM. Way back in 2008, we wanted to give a push towards research. Like every other organization, we also adopted attract, recruit, and nurture model, but with a small difference that we want to attract only students with, faculty members with international experience. Now, how do we attract them? We thought that we should create a separate track for them called as a research track faculty with lesser teaching load. And then we also thought that we should give them a seed grant of about 50 lakhs of rupees so that when they come into the campus, within a few months, they can continue their research work, which they have been doing it elsewhere. Then we also said we'll be supporting their travel to different countries for attending conferences and also permit them to take sabbatical leave as and when there is a requirement. So with these support measures, we could attract quite a good number of faculty members and then place them under what is called as SRM Research Institute. Now, having done this assignment, the next focus was to have more number of PhD scholars, full-time PhD scholars in the campus, and also to attract postdocs. So we happened to institute the fellowship for PhD scholars, full-time scholars, and also postdocs. And as on today, we happen to give a fellowship of 25,000 rupees per month for research scholars, and then 55,000 rupees per month for postdocs. Now, having done this, in the last 10 years, the outcome of our steps were, number one, we could attract 4 major project funds, little over 11,000 crores from different agencies like Ayush, MNRE, DBT, and recently from the DST PERS. So that was the first thing that we could see after about 12, 13 years or so. The next thing that we happen to see is 6 of our departments have been supported by the DST FIST. That is the second measure that we could see. And the third one is 17 of our faculty members have published their research articles in Nature Index journals in the last year. And the last year, NARF has introduced a ranking of institutions under research category, and we happen to find a place in the top 50 institutions of the country. Now, having said about the research, innovation and entrepreneurship that picked up a little late, we started in 2002, we established, we created a fabrication lab, which is open 24/7 for all the faculty members and the students of the institution. Now, over a period of time, we happen to train our students. We organize boot camps, we organize training sessions along with industry personnel, And we also inducted some of the faculty members to be a part of these programs, so they can become resident mentors for all such processes. In the last 2 years, we have introduced few courses on design thinking across all programs, technology, entrepreneurship, and biodesign. And in the coming year, we are planning to introduce a minor program on innovation and entrepreneurship. Now, as an outcome of this initiative, today we have 18 startups incubated in the campus. We have 30 pre-incubatees. 80 plus prototypes have been done in the campus. And finally, I should say that in the last 3 editions of ARIA ranking, we happen to be in the top 5 positions. Thank you.
Next, I request Professor Shrinivas Balli, Vice-Chancellor, Nrupathunga University, Bangalore.
Honorable Minister for Education, Sri Dharmendra Pradhanji, Chairman of the session, Professor Rangarajan, and my colleagues on the dais, dignitaries of the dais, and my friends. Nrupathunga University is the newly born university. Government Science College upgraded to the university status as per RUSA. As you know, in government colleges, due to many reasons, lack of staff and the research culture, it's a really big challenge for us to create a research environment there. However, we have been trying to cultivate this culture in the teaching staff as well as the students, encouraging them to publish the papers in the technical papers and also writing the books on the courses they are dealing with. And there is a need to strengthen these activities in the days to come, of course. Let me enlist the NEP aspirations. As we know, introducing research projects at undergraduate honors levels ignites the students' interest in research. It helps students to choose the path of research. Creating a research culture is a strong impetus that will develop the thirst to do things differently, leading to innovations. Research and innovations will empower students to become independent and take charge of their career path by choosing entrepreneurship. Thus, the NEP aspirations are to build the research culture, to motivate the innovations, to promote and encourage entrepreneurships. So, building the research culture is the way forward. To build the research culture, following methods may be adopted. Learning by carrying out small research projects, conducting field studies, case studies, survey work, and data analysis. This is primarily because I'm telling this undergraduate in a university where we run the undergraduate programs. Is needed to create such a culture. Internships at industries, NGOs, linkages between the students and local skilled workers, to engage the students in hands-on experience working along with the artisans, mechanics, etc. Skill development training and research assistance to social and industrial research scholars. Introducing the subjects like research methodology, peer group interactions through the student forums to exchange ideas and share research findings among the students. It is important to create the innovations, curate the innovations. It could be done by learning through problem solving and analysis, motivations to convert ideas into possibilities, interactions with the role models, scientists, innovators, and entrepreneurs to know how innovations change lives, grit to pursue sparked ideas, nurturing the entrepreneurial mindset, efficacy, locus of control, beliefs about the capabilities, motivations, and level of resilience are important. Learning about business and risk involved, understanding that failure could be stepping stones, associate with startups for ideation and to curate ideas, MOUs for the incubation of ideas into products and solutions. So, the challenges ahead are design of the curriculum that inspires the students to dream big, set new and challenging goals, help students to recognize opportunities around, and then plan and execute, bring them to reality. Argument infrastructure, facility conducive for research and innovations. Large number of students in research requires ample faculty as research guides, industry startups and academia linkages to support research and innovation, setting up of more incubation centers. Overall, idea is to protecting and nurturing the students who have the bent of mind to research. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Now I request Professor K.R.S. Sambasiva, Vice-Chancellor, Central University of Mizoram, to
Union Minister of Education, Chairman of the panel discussion, and the Ministry and UGC staff, and the Honorable Vice-Chancellors and Directors of the conference. It was, my job is that intervention. Honorable Chairman has requested me, you can also speak about the topic. So intervention, you can also review the points which are mentioned by the other panelists. As you know that Honorable Director IIT has mentioned, emphasized on incubation centers and IPRs and translation of research. And Chelvan, SRM University has emphasized on entrepreneurship and need of the CET grant and motivation of the research scholars. And the Shrinivas, Vice-Chancellor, has mentioned about research culture and developing research attitude and skill development in the college level. As you all know that most of the education sector actually are lying under the 70% of them in the underdeveloped institutions, UG and PG colleges. It is the most important one is how to develop the research culture in the particular institutions. As you know that it is very important that we need to first cultivate the research culture for the people, particularly to teachers and students. This is the most important. And how research and innovation and creation, which leads to startups, actually this is one of the important area that all the teachers has to be motivated. And this will help the students to go for enlightening thinking and also the thinking with the creation and innovation. As we also, this is a very important one, and realizing the importance of this particular one, as soon as actually the model of my university, which is earlier, it is very remote university and not having any culture. What I did is all the students and all the research scholars and everyone, they should have a project work and training and field works and interaction with the many faculty and also the noble laureates. This is what actually I have been believing in the students to develop the research culture. And we have implemented this ever since I took charge of the university as Vice-Chancellor, and every teacher have emphasized that they should have 3 publications per year and also to apply 2 or 3 research projects. This has resulted in a very big change in our university, that within 4 years of our tenure, my university has got more than 300 crores research projects in the last 4 years. And the publications has been doubled, and it is more than 10 times it has been increased. And the citation index also has been increased. That we have implemented that project works also compulsory should be taken up at every year, and if possible at every semester. And the students has been interacted with several Nobel laureates and other people and several scientists. This has caused the interest, this has influenced the teachers and also students to take up research in a very big manner. So this has to be implemented in UG and PG colleges throughout the country, that the research culture has to be brought and through motivation and by implementation of a certain norms for the undertaking the research. This will help the research culture and also innovation and startups development in our university, and also in many universities it is possible. Thank you very much for giving me an opportunity.
I would like to thank all the panelists for keeping to the time. Now we'll open the floor for discussions. Is somebody going to moderate or?
सभागार में उपस्थित सभी से निवेदन है कि आपको अगर कोई प्रश्न पूछना है तो वॉलंटियर्स के पास माइक है। मैं वॉलंटियर्स से निवेदन करती हूँ, आप अपना प्रश्न पूछ सकते हैं। प्रश्न की संक्षिप्तता का ध्यान रखेंगे। थैंक यू।
Thank you so much for giving this opportunity. Sir, as we all know that India is a two type of country where one set of institutes have got a lot of work done in research, while the other set of institutes are yet to begin with the process of involving themselves into active research work. So, is there a possibility that with the intervention of UGC and the ministry, can we have a mentor-mentee kind of a structure, so that those who are not able to come to the level of the researchers which we are expecting for a country like India, where some IITs, some big institutes like SRM should come up and mentor the other institutes in the region for developing the research capacities and innovations infrastructure for the rest of them?
Yeah, I think this is a very important point which has been made, and it is also emphasized in several ways in the national education policy in the chapter related to research. I think it should not just be at an institutional level, the mentorship, but it should also be at the individual level, where there are mentors who can mentor individual researchers in state universities and colleges to write good research grants. That itself is an art which requires quite a bit of practice. So it's at various levels, right, from individual to the institutional level. I think it's very important to have a mentor-mentee relationship. Would any other panelist like to comment on this? Yeah, go ahead.
I think this point is well made, and institutions like IITs or IISc are already working with several institutions. Many faculty members of these colleges, they really come to IITs and IISc for doing their doctoral work and then continue that relationships. Most of the IITs have a very strong incubation program, and it is possible to have that incubator really mentor the incubators in the technical institutions and other higher educational institutions in the country. I will just give an example of IIT Kanpur. IIT Kanpur is actually involved with technical institutes in the UP state, and where we have recently started a program where our incubator is actually mentoring and helping set up the incubators in several other engineering colleges and the institutions. So this is a really good suggestions, and this is being done at various levels. But I think this can be institutionally and structurally done.
Sir, I have a question, sir, here. The biggest challenge the universities, especially in the hinterland, that is facing today is the recruitment and retention of quality faculty members to create a research vibrance, those who can bring projects, research projects, and can tie up with different institutions abroad there. And for that matter also, one thing that as Vice-Chancellors we come across, that while counting the past services of the postdoctoral fellows who have really worked abroad in various laboratories there. So there is no such guideline from UGC to count their past services here. So that is also a big hindrance. And with regard to the collaboration between the research institutions and the universities here, even though our university is situated in a hinterland, maybe in a state like Jharkhand, so we have also this tie-up with IIT Dhanbad and with institutions like Niger, Bhubaneswar, where we are pursuing research there. But this question lies with the UGC to clarify this stand, the counting of past services of the postdoctoral fellows, those who have
worked abroad there. Thank you, sir.
May I request the participants to kindly restrict to the topic of the session?
Yeah,
You can take up these questions during the break.
I have a question. Yeah, this is Dr. A.K. Tyagi from Kashi Vidyapeeth, Varanasi. In fact, we had been deliberating on the technical institutions at large, and the things they have, which have been discussed over here, they are also quite, encouraging. But at the same time, we are having large number of universities wherein we are having courses on social sciences and languages. So there probably we should deliberate on that what should be the indices which must be started to initiate the research activities. So that probably has completely, that topic we have probably completely missed. So I request panelists kindly to deliberate on that part also, that what should be the indices which should be followed in universities of social sciences and languages.
Yeah, I think there are, indices even for social sciences because, for example, the Science Citation Index not only has index for science subjects, but it also has indices for social sciences also. But I agree, there are differences. For example, in social sciences, writing books is very important, whereas and in fact, books would be, 1 or 2 books published by a social scientist would be considered equivalent, to getting a promotion, equivalent to doing work to get a promotion. But these are indices which are probably not so well recognized in the science institutions. There are differences, but I think there are indices. It's not that there are no indices available for social sciences. And you have, even in all the rankings, after all, in most universities, both in India and abroad, you have, except, institutions like IIT or IISc and so on, you do have all the spectrum of disciplines. And they are indeed ranked by the ranking agencies, and they do make appropriate normalizations for social sciences as compared to the hard sciences, because the funding which you may get for a social science would be less compared to physics or biology, and even the output would be different. So all these normalizations are indeed applied. So I think definitely it's not, I wouldn't say it's an issue, but it should be recognized more by the Indian institutions.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah. You want to?
Shall I add to this?
Please.
Okay. So there is a lot of scope, especially in the social sciences, there is a lot of scope for rewriting the history from Indian perspective and Indianization of education. And there are some such areas wherein we can explore a lot of things. I think the social science streams can exploit this.
क्षमा चाहूँगी, हमारे मध्य हमारी आदरणीय महामहिम राज्यपाल उत्तर प्रदेश श्रीमती आनंदीबेन पटेल जी पधार चुकी हैं। हम आपका सभागार में सादर स्वागत, अभिनंदन और नमन करते हैं। हमारे मध्य माननीय शिक्षा मंत्री आदरणीय श्री धर्मेंद्र प्रधान जी उपस्थित हैं, साथ ही माननीय राज्य मंत्रीगण भी उपस्थित हैं। मैं सादर स्वागत और अभिनंदन करती हूं और महामहिम आपसे अनुमति चाहती हूं इस सत्र को जारी रखने के लिए। आपसे निवेदन है आप फ्रंट रो में अपना सीट ग्रहण करें, अपना स्थान ग्रहण करें। ठीक,
हेलो,
धन्यवाद।
Here is one question, not question, the observation. Myself, Professor Rajkumar, Vice-Chancellor, Punjab University, Chandigarh. Yes, in regards to the this incubation, entrepreneurship type of things, I would suggest one thing that I did at Punjab University. When we are talking about the incubation, certainly you have to connect the industry, and for that purpose, you have to create a ecosystem for the industry. Unless you didn't do that, the product, whatever you have produced or whatever the idea you have generated, that could not be commercialized. So that I did at the Punjab University, and in the State University, in the area of the entrepreneurship, the Punjab University is #1. Second thing that I would like to tell, we should also think to give the financial type of incentives to the student only when the idea could be carried on to the success level. And that I did at the university, and a lot of industry now connected on that basis, and they are promoting the not only in terms of the idea, but in terms of the money they are providing to the student. Thank you.
I represent NITED deemed to university,
the Vice-Chancellor of the University, I would like
आपसे
to make
निवेदन है
a...
प्रश्न संक्षिप्त रखेंगे
Yeah,
प्लीज.
I'll make a specific point. Taking the research and benefit of entrepreneurship of the university to the villages. I'm very happy to tell you that we adopted our parent village, Nite village, the smart village, and we are taking the research entrepreneurship to the villages. For example, we have started soil testing for the farmers. This is one of the initiatives. And local products like jackfruit. I think now it has been due to research. Now we are happy to tell you that jackfruit has got a lot of positive effects on health of the people. And now already encouraging local people to grow jackfruit plants, and the products of the jackfruit are processed in the village. It is supported by the engineering college. A lot of things can be done. Sustainable development goals, which is
आपसे निवेदन है अपना प्रश्न
given to the
संक्षिप्त करें
villages.
सर.
Thank
टाइम
you.
कंस्ट्रेंट्स हैं.
Good morning. I am Professor Prabhat-Ranjan, Vice-Chancellor of D.Y. Patil International University in Pune. I was also heading TIFAC, Department of Science Technology Organization in Delhi for 5 years. One of the issues that I have served in both the government and private is that where large fundings are being handed out through government agencies, the more focus is on spending the money fast, because the government performance depends on how fast you can spend the money and not actually solving the problem. So like DARPA has Grand Challenge model or Horizon 2020 Europe, we need to focus more on solving scientific problems or whatever problems come with through multi-institutional research and actually leading to results rather than the focus on how to spend the money quickly. That is an important point. I don't have time to spend more in detail, but later on I can do that. Thank you.
Yeah. Hello. Sir, hello. This is Professor Alok Chakrawal, Vice-Chancellor, Guru Ghasidas Central University, Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh. Yesterday, Honorable Prime Minister, Sir, has narrated the underlying objective of NEP 2020, lab to land and land to lab. So, in terms of technical and scientific institutes, what is the roadmap for this? And the second thing, that is IKS. What are we doing for embedding Indian knowledge system in the higher education institutions? Thank you very much.
Sir.
I think in my talk, I emphasized on the role of translational research, and that was really meant for this lab to land and land to lab kind of a thing, where the faculty members and students can work in the field, can work with the industry partners and innovate on the technologies which can contribute to the economies of the nation. I just wanted to mention that in this context, which I forgot, that the Ministry of Education has already come out with the National Innovations and Startup Policy, and I believe that higher education institutions should come up in their own institutions, faculty entrepreneurship and students entrepreneurship policy, which will incentivize this translational research and also the faculty members. There was earlier a question that how to incentivize the faculty members and the students involved in this research. And there are elements in this policy which can be actually adopted. Several of the IITs have already come up with these entrepreneurship policy, which helps in commercializing the research, which helps in taking the research to the land, as was mentioned.
Sir, this is Professor Krishnan Bhaskar from IIIT Manipur. We have 69,000 startups and more than 100 unicorns. Can we come up with a policy that to connect all the industries with every institutions? Because if you count number of industries and the industries are more. Because in a way, it will bring a research which is useful to this country instead of competing with the Western world trying to publish in a high impact factor journals. I think it will be much more useful if we connect these industries to all the educational institutions, because this is also useful for the national security point of view, because these institutions can develop innovative technology for the country national security related issues. Because when you look at the investments also, 30% only the local investments for the startup and 70% is the foreign investments. Therefore, I think it is a very high time we connect the industry and academia with a close linkage, maybe with the support of Niti Aayog. Yeah, that is my observation.
Good morning. Sir,
we restrict to the taking questions. We are not able to take any more questions, and I request our chairperson for his concluding remarks. Thank you.
Honorable Governor and Honorable Minister of Education. So let me now summarize this panel. Several important points were made by the panelists. I think as far as research is concerned, as was pointed out by the Honorable Prime Minister yesterday, the implementation of the new education policies recommendations on research should be a very high priority. One important recommendation made was for setting up the National Research Foundation, and so we all are eagerly waiting for that. What should be probably the benchmark for evaluating such support is we can probably create, just like we have ease of doing business benchmarks, we can also have ease of doing research benchmarks and see whether we are attaining these benchmarks as we go along, as these fundings become available. I think that's very critical so that the researchers in universities and colleges do not face any hurdles in implementing their research ideas. For example, very simple things like, for example, in NSF, the National Science Foundation, if the grant is below a certain level, then the entire 3-year grant is given upfront to the researchers so that they don't have to keep on coming every year back to the funding agency for carrying out for getting the next tranche of funding. So simple ideas like these can also greatly enhance the ease of doing research. And it's also very important that we enhance this culture, especially in colleges and universities, state universities. Especially state universities often do not have enough funding for research. They have just about enough funding for taking care of their infrastructure, their salaries, and so on. So how do you enable that? An interesting experiment is being tried out in Karnataka where they're trying to replicate the National Research Foundation by starting a state research foundation. So that is something probably the states can also take up and create these state versions of the National Research Foundation. This will enable the states to develop technologies and set forth a research agenda that is suited to their states, their local ecosystems. And also, as far as innovation is concerned and entrepreneurship, what we need are more and more, especially of venture funding, which is accessible to state universities and colleges. Indian Institute of Science or IITs probably have enough access. Of course, we could also do more with greater access to venture funds. But for the state universities and colleges, this is practically non-existent. So can we have some mechanisms to make the venture capital funding accessible to them? Because venture capitalists would not even go to these places. They would not even think that there are great ideas coming out of these colleges and state universities. And that is something that we need to overcome, this bias that is existing. So here is probably where the government can play a role where, especially if you are trying to create deep science and deep technology-based startups, they'll often fail during this, due to this phenomena called the Valley of Death. So they need much more funding compared to what a regular startup like Flipkart or Ola would need, because you need a lot of capital to do a deep science and technology startup. So this is where probably the government can play a role in creating these, or seeding these venture capital funds, which can help the state universities and colleges. And it's also a unique experiment has been started where you have, the Department of Science and Technology has started this technology innovation hubs where they're set up as Section 8 companies, and IISc, several IITs have those technology innovation hubs where they are able to spin off companies and startups. But here again, probably it is not reaching out to the state universities and colleges. So all these are important points which need to be solved before we can have a thriving research ecosystem and an innovation and entrepreneurship ecosystem in this country. Because if it is only restricted to IISc and IITs and IISers, a few elite institutions, that's not going to solve India's problems. So we are a big country, we need these measures to percolate throughout the system. And the bulk of our students are in state universities and colleges. Unless we reach out to them and ensure that they have a very good atmosphere for carrying out these, we are not going to succeed as a nation. So with these few words, let me thank all the panelists and also thank the audience for their questions and comments. Thank you all. Bye.
सादर आभार सर। इसके साथ ही यह सत्र समाप्त होता है और मैं क्षमा चाहती हूँ कि समय की प्रतिबद्धता हमारा लक्ष्य है, इसलिए बीच में टोकना पड़ रहा है, उसके लिए विनम्र क्षमा प्रार्थनी हूँ। और मैं आगे के सत्र के संचालन के लिए डॉक्टर विधि नागर जी को सादर आमंत्रित करती हूँ कि वो अगला सत्र संचालित करें। धन्यवाद।